Hello and welcome to the Banter podcast. It's me, George Sapnap, once again with our new friend, Chris Parnell. Chris, for people that don't know who you are, because we have a wildly all over the place fan base that just goes on Twitch all day, who are you?
Well, a lot of people know me from Rick and Morty. I play Jerry, the dad. I also play Cyril Figgis on Archer. I was on Saturday Night Live for about 8 seasons a while back, which probably none of you have seen.
No, I'm definitely into Saturday Night Live. Yeah, I've seen a lot of your work, definitely.
Oh, thanks. And then 30 Rock was a show I did for a while, playing Dr. Spachemin. But yeah, various different things.
We actually have a line that we'd like you to say. I can put it in the chat for you, and you can look at it and make a decision on if you want to say it or not.
This might be the line that you turned down. Keep in mind.
Okay, all right. Rick, I will not allow you to bring Morty on another adventure until everyone subscribes to Banter.
Yo.
And you must do it. Do it immediately, right now. Otherwise, Morty gets no more adventures. And Morty needs these adventures, please.
Would you like to guess where your first appearance was for me? Like my first time seeing you. I want to see if you would guess it. I feel like maybe there's a world. I'm 24.
Okay. Would it have been, I don't know, Jingle All the Way?
You were, the first time I saw you was Hot Rod.
Oh, Hot Rod. Okay.
Yeah, you were in the movie Hot Rod with Andy Samberg and all them. So.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well. Yeah. So you're already doing a good job talking like Jerry from Rick and Morty for the entire episode, which is what we were gonna ask. I'm just kidding. I actually didn't know. So you usually when you voice act, you use your organic voice.
Well, it's a lot of it is in the way that it's written for sure, and then I kind of try to modulate my voice a little bit. It's not very different from my own, at least for Jerry and Cyril. They're pretty similar to me, but Jerry's a little higher pitched and he's a little more compressed than my voice.
I didn't know that you were actually Cyril from Archer, because I've watched a lot of Archer, and also I've watched all of Rick and Morty. And then looking you up the other day, I was like, oh my god, he's Cyril as well. And also I didn't realize it was your normal voice, because I watched some footage of you. I was like, why is he talking like Jerry? And then I was like, wait, he's talking like Cyril as well. What is going on? So, yeah, I don't know. Do you think most voice actors kind of do a different voice for characters, right? Or am I wrong with that? I don't know. But with you, it seems like, at least with those two characters, it's just your voice, maybe slightly little bits of changes to make it fit the character more. But yeah, I don't know. Have you experimented with different voices?
Yeah, well, for those two, I definitely, they feel different from how I normally speak to me. I know that in reality they're very, very similar to how I speak. But John Benjamin, for instance, who plays Archer, and then he's also Bob on Bob's Burgers. His voice is very recognizable. But yeah, there's a show called My Friend Superman, I think it's called. It's either out or coming out, an animated show where I definitely do some different vocal stuff. And then I've done a number of animated things over the years, including Nature Cat, which is, up like a PBS kids show where I do different voices, But for the main things, like Archer and Rick and Morty, I'm just a variation of this voice.
It looks like you're in kind of a recording studio. Are you?
I am. I'm in my voice booth. I'm set up for good audio in here, but not necessarily great video, as you can see. But
is this where you record your voiceovers for the shows, or do you go to somewhere else?
The only ones I record from here are Family Guy and American Dad, which I have like recurring parts on. But for Rick and Morty and Archer and everything else, I go out into a studio. This is mostly I do auditions in here, actually. So
who are you in Family Guy?
I am Doug in Family Guy. One of Stewie's nemesis.
And Peter. He's Peter Griffin as well.
No, I'm not Peter.
Yeah.
Do the Peter voice. Do the Peter voice.
What I was gonna say is, I think that you have done a really commendable job at something that I really want with my life, where it seems like you've taken multiple things that you are either, I don't know if you're passionate about, I guess I can't speak on your passions, but stuff that you're good at, and you've done many different directions, kind of in the same way like the artist Tyler the Creator. He's a musician, and he also does the videography for all of his music videos, and he also has like a clothing line. You know what I mean? So like, what do you like? When I say this, I'm talking about like you do comedy. Obviously, you worked with SNL. You've done on-screen, like physically, like real life talent work, and then you've also done a lot of voice work. I guess my question is, where do you think you find the most fun? Like now, what is your favorite?
My favorite thing is still definitely doing on camera. I love doing the voiceover. I feel very lucky that I get to do it and do so much of it, especially on shows that are as well written as Rick and Morty and Archer are. But yeah, I still love being with other actors, because all of those shows, most voiceover work for animated shows is done individually, separately, which is great for efficiency and time and all that. But, it's fun if you're doing an on-camera thing, a movie or TV show, to be there with the other people and enjoy that camaraderie, and get to know people. And that's the most fun to me. Yeah,
kind of like the movie that has just recently released, Senior Year. If you want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I did this movie a couple of summers ago in Atlanta called Senior Year. It stars Rebel Wilson. It's been on Netflix for a while, but we just got nominated for People's Choice Award for Comedy Movie of 2022. So if you want to go to, what is it? Vote PCA, I think.
VotePCA.com.
Yeah.
But rather that than like a virus or something, it turned out.
Yeah, go to this address. You'll find a surprise there. You might not like it. But yeah, if anybody wants to vote for Senior Year, that would be great.
Yeah, everybody vote for Senior Year, because Senior Year is the only one that has had somebody on Banter. So there you go. That's enough of an argument for me.
Absolutely.
We can say we had a People's Choice Award winner.
Yeah, there we go.
That's right.
Yeah, right now, nominee. No, it doesn't sound as cool as winner, though. So we're going to have to fight for that.
It doesn't. Thank you. Please fight for it.
You said that a lot of the time the voice acting you do, it's solo. So how does that work? So like, let's say like the first person, like there has to be someone that does like the voice acting like completely by themselves without like hearing a voice like talk back to them. How does that work? Like, isn't it like much more difficult to try and like, sound like you're talking in a conversation without hearing, the voice that's actually going to be portrayed in the show, like talking back to you?
Well, what usually happens with that is that whoever is directing me in the session, either they or somebody else part of the production team will read the other character's lines. But even that's only if there's like a lot of back and forth between two people, because it definitely helps to have that other person reading with you. But a lot of the lines are just kind of one-offs or said in the middle of a much bigger sort of scene. And you just do those a few times on your own. Maybe somebody reads you in with the other character's lines, and then you do it yourself a few different times. But, also, with these characters, with Rick and Morty and Archer, I know what the other voices sound like almost always. And, I can sort of imagine how they're going to say it or react. And then the person who's reading with me, they know the show very well too. So
do you have like any favorite moments or something interesting that an average viewer wouldn't know from voice recording or voice acting on Archer or Rick and Morty that you think is cool?
The only behind-the-scenes stuff is if we go to Comic-Con or something, and get liquored up together.
Yeah, Comic-Con's got to be wild for you.
It's really fun, This year, I was glad we were able to go back to it, but it was a little more subdued than what it has been in the past. Like, we didn't go out to the floor and do signings like we usually do, which was a bit of a bummer, but, trying to be COVID safe and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we like each other, and it's fun when we get to see each other. That's for both casts, and it's nice to hang out and go have dinner and all of that. But when the recording is going on, it's kind of straight ahead. There's not too much in the way of hijinks or silly stuff
hop in the
happening.
booth, say the lines, and leave. Right. Nothing special.
Kind of, yeah.
A disappointing
like
answer. I was expecting there to be some crazy behind-the-scenes stuff.
Just make something up for us at that point.
Sure. Well, usually I record naked, and so that gives the engineer a nice surprise.
That's awesome. What do you see is like? Do you notice like differences in recording from one to the other? whether it be Archer, Rick and Morty, or like any of the other projects you've worked on?
Usually it's usually kind of in the same mode for all of them, as long as your engineer knows what they're doing, your audio engineer, which they almost always do, and the people on the other end, you're usually, it used to be they'd be out in the control room, but now they're usually on Zoom, or if not always on Zoom, like with an iPad, which in some ways is like kind of more intimate, because like you're looking at a good shot of their face, whereas if they're in the booth, they're like, way off in the distance, kind of behind glass. But they're all roughly, the same.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of just like once everybody understands what they're doing and what the show is. Some people get more direction than others on a show, and there are a number of things that I do guest star parts on where I might be more likely to get a little more guidance or direction, but it's all kind of roughly.
Do you
the
prefer
same.
the guidance, or would you rather it be a little bit more hands-free?
When it's good, which it usually is,
Yeah.
I like to have it because I'll have my own instincts about what I should do with a line, but somebody else is going to have some other ideas that might be better than mine, or might be work in conjunction with what I'm thinking of. So I like getting good direction, whether it's just voiceover or on camera.
I haven't seen Archer in a while, but thinking about it, I think Cyril and Jerry are somewhat similar, right? Or am I
They
wrong?
are a little bit. No, they are.
Now I'm thinking about it. Are you like them too in real life?
They're those kind of guys who are kind of put upon and insecure. I can definitely relate to that. They're definitely in my wheelhouse, but I try to be sort of more confident than they are. Most of the time I am, but yeah, there's.
If it was both of them and you, and all three of you are in a ring, and it's free for all, gloves off, fight to the death, do you think you're taking them?
You know what? I think actually Cyril would win.
Okay. Not Jerry.
Because Cyril, not Jerry, definitely not Jerry. I could take Jerry for sure. No, but I don't know. I don't think I could take Cyril. Cyril's a lot. He's better built than I am, and he's trained to be an agent too, a secret agent.
I guess I didn't think that through too much, but you know what? Fair enough. Let's talk about for a second SNL. What got you to joining SNL, and like what did you do? Like when did you realize that that's like the career path that you wanted to take? I guess because I feel like a lot of people, whenever like SNL is kind of that. I think in the world of like writing and comedy, SNL is kind of that like I made it moment for a lot of people.
It definitely is. It definitely is, because most of the people that come on the show aren't really known quantities up until getting on the show. So for me, it came out of the Groundlings Comedy Theater here in LA. It's sketch comedy, improv. And so I was performing there in their main show, and Talent Scouts saw me and then asked for some tape from my agent, which I had some stuff. I'd done a lot of guest star parts on different shows and things. And then they flew me out to New York to audition. And thankfully, the audition went very well. And that's how I got it, And I didn't necessarily think I would be on it. I wasn't planning on it, but I was obviously very thrilled when I was.
Really? So that was never like the plan for you?
Well, not the plan, I guess. I kind of thought my route would be via sitcoms, and also because SNL had looked at me once before that I knew about, and I hadn't gotten it then, so I thought, oh well, that was my shot. It's okay. I'll do the sitcom thing, hopefully,
Yeah.
But then when they came back around, I was very surprised, and I was both delighted and terrified. So.
What's that like? Your first few like weeks at SNL? Because I feel like it's kind of like a pretty intense situation.
It is a little bit. It helps to have some experience being on TV, being on stage, and all that. I found I was in the cold open of my first show, which was Cameron Diaz was the host, but it was I think John Goodman was in there, and it was a lot of cast members, and then I played this guy Kenneth Starr, who had been involved in the Clinton investigation many years ago, and it was a little, I was a little nervous, but I'd been on stage plenty, and I'd been on television enough, so it was like, okay, I can handle this,
Yeah.
and it went all right. But
Awesome.
the background I'd had up till then really, I felt prepared me. You know?
Okay, so I feel like it's so you're okay. Here's the next section then. What I would ask is that you joined SNL in 1998, unless I am wrong. That does that
That's
sound
when I
right?
started. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When now it's 2022. If somebody was attempting to try to become like get to that spot, maybe become like a comic and get into writing, like what do you think the avenue would be now? Do you think it would still be like trying to make it through SNL, is that the next angle for people still?
I mean, I think SNL, continues to be really relevant. And I think it still has a good audience, maybe even better than when I was on the show. I think that's a great thing if you can make it onto SNL. That's amazing, and I went to drama school. I did the whole acting thing. That sort of started with that, and then going to the Groundlings Theater, going through their classes was kind of like going through a master's program, and then I did like student films. I kind of just did everything I could. So, what you can do now, obviously, thanks to the internet and YouTube and everything else, is you can make your own content and put that out there. Which is partly how I think Andy Samberg got to be on the show. He and Akiva Schaffer and Jorma Taccone, had the Lonely Island, which they still do, and they were making content before they got on the show, and that's part of how they got noticed, I think.
So if you were to restart right now, you're at the beginning again, and you were trying to get to the same end goal, just get to the same spot that you are now, right? How would you go about doing that, would you say?
I'd probably I'd do a lot of it the same. I might, make more of an effort to create my own stuff, and shoot it and put it out there into the world. Because when I was starting out, that wasn't really an option. I mean, YouTube didn't really become a thing until like my last year that I was on SNL, 2005, 2006.
Yeah. And even then, it was still kind of just like the foundations of what it is now.
Yeah, that was baby YouTube.
Baby YouTube.
It was just cat videos.
It was cat videos, and then I think we did this video Lazy Sunday, me and Andy Samberg and Akiva and Jorma, and I think that helped. I think that helped YouTube. Because it got passed around a lot.
You single-handedly created YouTube, basically.
I thank you for saying that. I appreciate you acknowledging that.
I think that's what you were trying to say. I was just getting it out for you.
No, you got it right. You got it right. And I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for my check. So.
Do you have any favorite lines from either Rick and Morty or Archer that are like very memorable for you?
Jerry has a line in one of the episodes where he screams to the heavens, "I am the Jesus Christ of Christmas." And
that is awesome. So when you're looking at the script and you see that for the first time, like, what do you think? I don't even understand. Like, oh my god.
Surely it's like a little chuckle to yourself, and you're like, "Let's go."
yeah, it kind of is. It's just like, oh, I love it. I mean, because I know the scripts are always going to be good and I mean, great, and so it's fun to see what they have for me.
Do you ever see the script and want to make a change to it, and do they let you change it? Because you are the character, technically. So I don't know. I feel like I have no experience with your kind of job, but I would imagine you kind of feel a connection with the character, and perhaps you say to the writers, I don't think it would be like this. I think it'd be more like this. Or do you just take the script as it is?
I mostly take the script as it is because, it's like it's half me and it's half the writing, if not more the writing, and the writing is so good that, if there's a few words that we want to switch around or change it a little bit, but I've never read a script and been like, oh, that's, I don't like that. I've got a much better idea, because there's so much work. There's so much work that goes into it before I ever even see it.
Yeah.
It's like it's pitched as an idea way back, and they figure it out, and then they write it, and then they rewrite it, and they punch up the jokes, and so much work goes into it before I ever see it. So, it's not the kind of thing where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this better.
My question was like, I've seen like a bunch of like stuff about, or not a bunch, but like a few times where a bunch of people who do voice acting and are working on a show will just have some fun and just say like ludicrous stuff and just like joke about and make characters like say stupid things. I was wondering if you've ever had like an experience like that.
Well, there's sometimes points in a recording where there'll be like an everybody line, like all the different characters sort of talk at once, and so there's a lot of kind of freedom around that because it's, sometimes the lines are put down there, but there's a lot of freedom to kind of go crazy. I mean, the person who does that the most and the best is Justin Roiland, because so much of, I think, what he does on the show, it's written and he follows the script, but he also just improvises so freaking well. It's, it's amazing. And I don't know that I've ever seen him do it, but I just, I've heard about it, and then I sort of see the end result, and so I was like, oh yeah, I can see how Justin sort of was making that up on the fly, But
awesome.
I'm not as good as he is that way, I think,
So you've never improvised a line?
Yeah, like in the everyone lines, or if there's something that comes to me, nobody's so like serious about it that they're gonna be like, how dare you? So yeah, if something happens to come to me, if I get inspired, I might add something or say something in a different way. But I don't ask me to tell you what it is because I will not remember.
Do you think it's very important for somebody that wants to get into the profession that you're in to live in Los Angeles?
It certainly helps, if what you want to do is be in television or movies, or probably even voiceover for that matter. I mean, so much of it happens here.
Mm.
I mean, after I was done on SNL in 2006, I was going to stay there because I had a great place in Soho that I loved, and I love New York. But I just realized I was missing out on like table reads and certain auditions and things that they weren't necessarily going to fly me out to audition for. But, and then now everything now is a self-tape, even though it's video. So, I mean, I guess you could really audition from anywhere, but it helps to be kind of where the action is.
No,
I think,
definitely. I'd say so. I think I recently just got a place in LA.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I visit it, and then every time I visit, it feels like the entire week is just dedicated to just nonstop. Oh, actually, funnily enough, I went to my first ever red carpet premiere not too long ago, and it was actually for a movie that you were in, Chippendale Rescue Rangers.
Oh, I was there at that too. So.
Wait, what the heck? Oh my gosh! And you probably dodged me because you're like, God, I'm gonna have to talk to this kid pretty soon.
No, I don't. Whoever there was on the carpet interviewing people, I would talk to them. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was such a cool experience to me. I wasn't sure what to expect from that movie because I'm a massive Who Framed Roger Rabbit fan, and this looked like it was attempting to be like this generation's Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
In certain ways.
And I was worried I was going to hate it because I also love Chip and Dale as like characters. And I went into it being like, oh my God, am I going to have to pretend to like this in front of all these people that made it? I don't know why that's the stuff I stress about. And then I watch it and it was amazing. I thought it was a really good movie. What is like the thing that you're most proud of so far in your career?
I mean, there were a lot of sketches on SNL that I feel proud to have either co-created or just been a part of. And then the character Dr. Spaceman on 30 Rock, that material, the lines that I was given for that were also just so extraordinary. And that character, among a certain group of people, continues to sort of live on and have, finds new audience members for 30 Rock, and it's because it still holds up, I think. So those are the two that come to mind. But I'm really, I mean, when you have a show that's as well written as Rick and Morty, or a show like Archer that's as well written as that, you just feel lucky and grateful and thankful to get to do such wonderful material.
If you had to pick Rick and Morty or Archer, you can only continue one of them. Which are you picking?
Gosh, I don't know if I could pick. I mean, I've been doing Archer, for over 13 years, and then I've been doing Rick and Morty for, I don't know, maybe 7. It's been a long time since we did the pilot. But I don't know. I don't know if I could pick. They're both so fun to do, and they both have such sort of serious fan bases. People who love the show so much.
Do you ever see yourself like writing like your own show in the way of like coming together from all of these experiences that you've had on shows, whether it be like voice acting, seeing the writing on your own way? Do you ever see like you being like, no, this is my turn now?
Well, I'm in the early stages of trying to develop something with some friends of mine who are screenwriters, a television idea, and it was my original idea, and we're trying to find a producer for it, and so that's something that's going on. They're kind of the heavy hitter writers. I'm going to contribute, but they're the real pro writers. But yeah, I've got a lot of ideas that I've already brought to it, and we'll continue to if we're able to keep working on it.
So that is something that you're doing in the future, and then other things could be, continuing on with comedy, continuing on with the voice acting, because you've dabbled into so many different areas. Where do you see like future you? Like, what do you want to focus on now in your head? Like, in the next 5-10 years, like where do you see yourself direction going?
Well, I mean, I would really love to see that show happen.
Yeah.
That would be amazing to get to make that and do it for a while. Short of that, I'd love to get on, like a good half-hour single-camera sitcom again, because as a form, that's something I really love to do. And then I love getting to do movies too. It's sometimes it's in LA and sometimes it's in New York or Atlanta or wherever. So that's kind of a fun thing to go, immerse yourself in for a little while. I just finally got on Instagram. I'm kind of late to the game.
Just a little.
Oh wow. yeah, slightly.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a TikTok?
Late.
I feel like you would explode on TikTok.
I don't have a TikTok.
You got to work on that.
Are you allowed to use your voice? Because like your voice is your voice, but it's also the voices of characters. Are you allowed to use your voice for like other purposes? I don't know, like the legality of things. Like if you wanted to make a TikTok and be like, imagine your TikTok was focused around Jerry from Rick and Morty saying things that Jerry from Rick and Morty wouldn't usually say, imagine a TikTok account where Rick and Morty, where Jerry says very explicit things. Would Rick and Morty get mad at you for this? Or like, are you allowed to have free reign over that kind of thing?
They might. I mean, that's the kind of thing where I would be, dancing a bit of a line, I think, because so much of what Jerry is in the script, is in the words. So yeah, I don't know that Adult Swim would be too happy about me putting Jerry out there like that, saying filthy stuff,
Yeah. What if it was just you though doing it? Because technically your voice is Jerry. Like it's just you saying it though. Like would they still get mad at you? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, but also it's not something I really would want to do because you want to sort of cultivate a certain image for yourself, a certain brand, if you will, and you don't want to be Mr. Foulmouth, saying crappy stuff. I mean, I definitely talk filthy, but I'm not necessarily going to go on TikTok and and shout it all out.
Filthy. How do we know you're not lying to us?
Are you trying to get them to talk filthy to you? What is this? What is going on here?
It's like I hear the sirens call, talking filthy.
Yeah, I mean, like the filthy talk was just an example, but it could be like anything. Because I don't know the legality of it is something I just thought about because it is your voice, but then you also use that voice for their IP, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think it'd probably come down to like how he was. If he were to do that, I feel like it'd come down to how he was like portraying it. Like if he was saying he was Jerry from Rick and Morty, saying said things. Obviously, he's I think that's where it would get in trouble. Versus if he was just saying explicit things and people knew he was the voice actor from Rick and Morty, then I feel like they wouldn't be able to be mad at that.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I mean, as long as I'm not representing the show and doing ridiculous stuff that's just sort of foul and not funny or whatever, it's fine. I just it's that's where I think it brushes up against what the creators would be less than happy with.
Do you like anime?
I've watched and read manga and watched definitely some anime over the years, but I'm way behind on it. Like the last thing I think I saw in the theater was Ghost in the Shell 2.
I mean, I just feel like you're such a large part of like American, like Western cartoons a little bit more. So I was just curious because I'm like obsessed with all things animation, to be honest. Like I have like a big collection of like VHS tapes that have recordings of like a day of Cartoon Network and like stuff like that from like 2006 and like 2004 and like
Wow.
just stuff like that because I don't know, that's what I grew up on, so it's like fun to see it with all the old commercials and all that.
No, that's awesome. I love the old commercials too. Yeah, I know what you mean about that.
Commercials are just getting worse. Are we gonna be honest?
I agree. Commercials suck now.
We need you to step in on commercials.
I step in when they let me, you know.
Hey, if you guys are listening and you're creating commercials, Chris Parnell would like in for lots of
I
money
would.
We'll be the manager. We'll
Exactly.
take 10%.
Yeah.
each, to be clear. But
I was the voice of the. I don't know if you ever saw the Progressive insurance commercials with the talking box, but that was me.
I was about to say all commercials are getting worse except for the Progressive box. That's what I was gonna say just now, and then you took the words out of my mouth.
Good save. Good save.
What is your favorite? What is your favorite? Like, do you enjoy like cartoons beyond what you're a part of yourself?
I've got two young sons. I got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they take up a lot of time, which is great. They're wonderful. They're my children. So I don't find myself getting to watch that much television. The last thing that I finished watching was The Rings of Power, which I really enjoyed.
Okay.
And then I'm watching the Inside Amy Schumer because I'm in a couple of episodes, 1 or 2 episodes of that this season, which was also really fun to do. But yeah, the only animation I tend to see is like whatever my kids are watching, and my son right now he's watching, I think he's rewatching Teen Titans Go. And then my younger son, he still loves Sesame Street.
That's awesome. Has your kids watched the cartoons that you're in?
Damien, my older son, has definitely seen some Peabody and Shermans, and he enjoyed those. I was Mr. Peabody in the TV show that was out for a little while. And then I also do voices on Nature Cat, which they will sometimes sort of pick up on that it's me. I do sometimes narrator voices, and then sometimes I'm characters like this guy Houston and Sir Galahad, these different little animal characters that I am. So they enjoy it when they pick that up.
I've just looked up the rating for Rick and Morty, and it's a 14. So I'm assuming they haven't seen that one yet. Do you plan on letting them see that?
When they're quite a bit older? I think it will depend on. I mean, I would think it would probably be 14 or younger. It just depends on how mature I feel like they get. And if they're ready for that kind of material.
If they're ready to hear their dad say that they're the Jesus Christ of Christmas.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I'll say that anytime, but
that's awesome.
Have you ever done that with someone where you've shown them some of your work without saying it's you, and then they realize it's you?
I think the only thing I've done is that maybe we'll show an episode of something to my wife, and not let her know that I'm in it, and she'll be pleasantly surprised, But she usually knows what I'm working on, so it's hard to surprise her,
Yeah, that's what happened with me when I researched the other day and saw you were in Archer. I was like, oh my god, it all makes sense. I recognized like the voice. It matches up.
Life finally had meaning for you. I get it. Yeah.
Exactly. I was awakened.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a good point to kind of wrap. Chris, where would you like people to go if they want to support you in the best ways possible for you? What would you say?
Well, I'm Mr. Mr. Chris Parnell, Mr. Chris Parnell on Instagram, and that's kind of the main place I am, social media wise. So
before we leave, there's just one more thing.
yes.